Hey guys, welcome to another video on the Inside Spurs channel. Happy Saturday morning, happy weekend, happy Easter weekend as well. Obviously, in this video, we are previewing the Spurs versus Nottingham Forest game on Monday. Ange has been talking actually quite recently, so we've got loads of really good stuff coming out of the press conference. We have injury updates on Heung-Min and James Maddison. Just more of a vibe check as well surrounding that sort of the camp and going into Monday night and obviously going into Sunday with Liverpool ahead of the first leg with Bodo Glimt. We're also going to be talking about Ben Davies' contractor situation and potentially the extension being sort of taken up. So we're talking about that as well. Morning, Sonia Spurs, Jazz Dragon, and Peter. How are we all? I'm looking forward to Monday night. I think, when we've talked about previews recently, especially leading into the two ties with Bodo Glimt, for me, a lot of it sort of was, it's a great opportunity for players that maybe haven't played a lot of football due to injuries or, maybe being out of form or whatever the reason might be. It's a phenomenal opportunity for those guys to get minutes, to build form, fitness, build confidence, build match sharpness, and add it to a team that there are some players, there's some players who didn't play against Wolves. There are players who have played a handful of games recently, and they've been in games where Spurs have not lost, and they're in form. They're in some confidence levels, and I think confidence should be high after Thursday. You've gone to a really solid team in Germany and kept a clean sheet. I mean, that's the first time. This is a great stat, and it came from TNT. It said that that's the first time Frankfurt have failed to score in a home game for over a year. The first time they haven't scored at home for over a year. And you can put that down to Vicario making good saves. You can put that down to Mickey van der Ven and Romero clearing every single thing that came in the box. You can put it down to Pedro Porro being phenomenal and Destiny Doggy being brilliant and Bentancur and all the players involved. All of them get, a lot of credit for that. But the confidence is high, and confidence should be high. Even after that one game, confidence should be high. It shows that you can go to difficult places and get results. Now, Spurs are at home on Monday night. We're a standalone game, obviously, as everyone knows what Monday Night Football is all about. Against a team that has had a very, very good season. And I do expect changes on Monday. I don't foresee a situation where the 11 that you saw Thursday night is the 11 that you will see on Monday night. I would expect changes. I would expect players who have sort of been getting a few minutes here and there to get a bigger dose of minutes. You'd expect players like maybe Jed Spence to come back in. Ben Davies, does Big Kev Danso get some more minutes? Richarlison, Odebear, Sarr, a lot of players could be getting good, solid minutes. And it's a great opportunity for those players to develop, get some form. Richie scored against Wolves. That's his last game that he played. He scored against Wolves. That is an opportunity to build off a launch pad, a good base of a player having some confidence. We'll sort of see on that one. We'll talk about the team in just a minute. Now, with Forest this season, let's have a quick chat about the visitors. Forest this season have had a phenomenal season. They really have, and credit goes to them. Credit goes to Nuno. A lot of people predicted they'd go down. They're in the Champions League spots. Now, the top 5 get Champions League this year. That's already been confirmed and guaranteed. So, in theory, Forest are 3 points clear of being in the Europa League at the moment. It's very tight. They're 2 points behind Newcastle in 3rd. They're 3 points clear. I mean, they're 3 points clear of 7th because Villa have won 4 in a row. Forest have lost 2 in a row. And you got to think that all the teams in and around them have picked up points. Newcastle, they've picked up 2 wins in that time. City have picked up a draw and a win. Chelsea have picked up a couple of draws. Villa have picked up a couple of wins. So Forest are a little bit out of form. They've had some injury issues as well, which we're going to come to. This is a really, really big game for them to get back on the horse, to get back at least picking up a point, if not winning for them, because Champions League, Europe in general for them will be massive. We know that. But Champions League for Nottingham Forest could be absolutely insane. It could transform their club. Yeah, we've seen it with Villa. It's transformed Villa a bit. It could do the same with Forest. And let's not knock this. Forest are a huge club. You might think, how? their stadium's not massive. They've been in the lower leagues for a long time. Forest are a massive club. Do not let anyone tell you that they're not. They are a massive club. And I'm not talking about just on this season. They are in history a huge, huge club. But let's talk about how they have been recently, because their last two games, they have lost the last two games. They lost away, they lost at home to Everton last weekend, and the weekend previous, they lost away to Villa. I mean, in their last five, they won 4-2 away to Ipswich Town. They won on penalties in the FA Cup quarterfinals away to Brighton. That was a really rubbish game. I wish I never watched that game. I was so bored. They then won a few days later at home to Manchester United, obviously then losing to Villa and then losing to Everton. So, look, they've got some good results in there. 2 wins, a draw. I'm considering the penalty win as a draw because it was. So they're coming in off of the back of a couple of bad losses. I mean, the Everton one, you look at the stats and Everton were probably the better team. They had more shots, they had more possession, they had 7 corners to Forest 1. So, those are all things you're going to have to take into account. Now, obviously, Spurs may rotate a little bit. That might change the dynamics of this game. So it's kind of hard to predict. But obviously, Spurs don't play in the Europa League till the 1st of May. We've got between Monday night, we've still got Liverpool at Anfield at the following weekend. So, you know what I mean? I expect maybe not huge changes for Monday night. I'd expect changes for the Sunday at Anfield, to be honest. When we look at Spurs versus Forest last season, and what I'm looking at is the home game. I always look at the fixture from the season before, if there is one, and we do have one. Spurs won 3-1 in that game. Looking at the stats, Spurs were better all across the board. It was a good result for Spurs. I actually remember it. 7th of April, towards the end of the season, it was a good result for us. Looking at the team that played, Vic was in goal, Destiny, Mickey, Kuti, and Porro, so the main 5. The midfield 3 was Basuma, Sarr, and Maddison, which I guess was the main 3 last season. And then your front 3 was Johnson, Son, and Werner. And there is going to be changes to that 11 this time out. I can promise you that, which I will come to in a second. With Forest that day, a lot of the players that you see now at Forest are in that team. Sells, Aina, Murillo, Williams, Yates, Alanga, Gibbs-White, Hudson-Odoi, and Wood. A lot of them, the mainstays of their teams. It's an interesting game. Again, like I said, it's the dynamic around how many changes will be made. Obviously, having played a massive game Thursday, having to travel back as well from Germany. How many of that 11 are going to start? I would expect at least, like we did with Wolves, I expect, a handful of changes, 4 or 5 changes, to be honest. I expect that. But we'll come to that in a minute. Let's go with some more stats between Spurs and Forest. Tottenham, for one, each of their last 3 home league games against Nottingham Forest. Nottingham Forest won 1-0 in the reverse fixture, ended a 6-game losing streak against Spurs in the Premier League. They lasted the double over us in the 96-97 season. There you go. Spurs have lost their last 2 Premier League games on Easter Monday, with both defeats coming at home. They lost 2-1 versus Manchester United and 2-1 versus Norwich in 2006 and 2012, respectively. So 2-1 might be a shout here. Nottingham Forest have lost 2 of their last 35 league games played on Easter Monday. They've won 21 and drawn 12. While in the top flight, they're unbeaten in 16. They've won 13 and drawn 3 since they lost in 1966 at Chelsea 1-0. That's mental. Do you know what? That's a mental stat, that. Fair play. Okay, fair play. Like I said, they're 4th in the league this year. They've played 32, just as much as we have, or as many as we have, sorry. They've won 17 of that, which is, for Forest, cracking. Absolutely cracking. So they've scored 51 in their 32. They've conceded 38 with a goal difference of 13. Spurs have won 11 of their 32. They've scored 60, conceded 49, so a goal difference of 11. So 4th to 15th goal difference, there's 2 between them, which is, in theory, when they play each other, is 1. The Spurs score, it's now 12 each. Don't know why there's balloons popping up on my screen. So look, That's interesting as well. It always makes me feel like Spurs have lost games by one, but then won them by about two or three, you know? So we'll sort of see from that. Now, look, in terms of injuries, I was looking at Nottinghamshire Live. It was an article by Sarah Clapson, who did it 2 days ago. Okay. They were talking about it and they said Nottingham Forest will leave it as late as possible to make calls on the fitness of injured duo Ola Aina and Taiwo Awonyi. Ola Aina has an injury with a calf problems. It's being forced off in the first half win versus Manchester United. Wanyi has missed the last two due to a hamstring issue. Sorry. The pair have not been involved in training with their teammates as of this morning, which was a Thursday, ahead of the game. And Nuno's going to make an assessment closer to the time. He says we have to assess. They were not with the group and they're still carrying some problems. We have to assess them. It's going day by day. Chris Wood obviously returned in the 1-0 defeat versus Everton, played 90, so you expect him to be back, if I'm honest. And obviously they've not played in a week, so they should be quite fresh. But looking at it injury-wise, they're missing their sort of backup striker and their right winger. So, not too bad injury-wise, It's not too bad. I mean, we as Spurs fans know what bad looks like. A lot of teams wouldn't know it even if it slapped them in the face, but it's not too bad when you sort of think about it. Looking at then really with Forest, just want to have a look at the Everton team. They played against Everton. So Sells is in goal. Not Alberto Moreno. What is his name again? Alex Moreno. Sorry, Alex Moreno is the left back. Murillo, Milinkovic, and Williams is back four. They're Dominguez, Elliot Anderson. They had Hudson-Odoi, Gibbs White, Jota Silva, and Chris Wood up front. Obviously, not that Jota before someone takes my head off again. If you know, you know. So, what do I feel about this game? I feel this is a great opportunity for other players to sort of step up, get some minutes, get some sharpness, build some confidence, and try and stake a claim. Because this season, obviously, we know how it's been, but this season still has the opportunity to be very, very special, which is hilarious to say when you're 15th or 16th or wherever you are in the league. 15th, sorry. Wolves have won 4 in a row. Fair bloody play to them. Fair bloody play. I've just seen that. Won 4 in a row. It has the ability still to be special due to the Europa League. We know that. But to have the Europa League campaign that you want to have, and what we want to have isn't to get into the final and, at least we got to a Europa League final. No, the idea is to win that final. Then you need to keep the squad fresh, obviously, confident, performing, and with a little bit of confidence. That even if, the players that you saw play on Thursday, even if, this weekend's a bit different and, maybe Odebear's playing and maybe Richie's playing, then do you know what? They come in with a bit of confidence and they can help the team. Okay. And I think that's what we've struggled a little bit this year is obviously having 12 plus injuries for months on end. It's not helping anyone. No one's getting any real sort of momentum and confidence and things like that. Now having sort of the lack of injuries, it's the ability to use that squad to build that confidence, to keep fresh legs. I think, when we look at Son's injury, that was one that he just kept trying to play through and play through and play through. And apparently it's deteriorated and it's gotten worse. So they've sort of just said, don't bother, sit at home, do your physio work, get yourself right. Because Forest on Monday night, no offense, is really irrelevant to our season. No offense. I want to win the game. Obviously, I'm not denying that, but winning or losing that game really is not going to do much in terms of how our league campaign is going to finish up. Same with Anfield. Thursday, a week on Thursday is where the season really picks back up again. Even if you lose the next two but win the Bodo Glimt 4-0, the first leg 4-0, that's massive. That's what it is. It's when you think about, like, for example, Arsenal. Arsenal aren't winning the Premier League title. They're 13 odd points behind with only 6 games to go. Their campaign starts up again in Tuesday or Wednesday's week's time against PSG. Chelsea, they're a bit different. They're fighting for the top four, and they've got the Conference League. That's a bit different. So, for us, it's the ability to get some other players some looks, see what they've got. Could potentially change a team if, well, adding a different dynamic. What if we got this guy out there? And what if we got this guy in there? And we're going to change the style of play like you did Thursday. Andrew's fantastic on Thursday. You know, you can hate Ange or love Ange. You can give him the credit that he changed that team on Thursday, changed what we needed to do. He adjusted to how the game was going, changed the system. Ange never changed the system. Tell me why we were playing a back three then. Tell me that. So look, there's that. We'll sort of see on that. Now, Forest and Spurs, for my team, how I would go about it, I'd go Vic in goal still. I think some people are saying, oh, why don't you play Kinski? And it's like, yeah, no, I think I'll stay with Vic. All right. Vic in goal. I'd go Jeds. I'd go Porro. I would. Just thinking about it, we've got a week and a half until we play again in the Europa League. So yeah, I'd play Porro. Maybe I'd rest him on the Sunday against us in Liverpool against Anfield. That makes no sense. Against Liverpool, in Liverpool, we'll just leave it there. I'd rest him for that. I'd go Davies. I'd probably go Romero, and then I would get Romero off in the 60th minute. Get him off. Don't want to see him anymore. Get Big Kev on. Get him some minutes. He's going to be needed this season. You might not think so. You might go, yeah, but it's going to be Mickey and Kuti against Bodo Glimt. It's like, hey, Big Kev is going to be needed against West Ham in the game between those two ties. So I would go Big Kev Danso coming on about half an hour to go, getting him some minutes ahead of Anfield at the following weekend. The midfield three, a part of me wants to go Bentancur. Actually, let me pause there because I want to talk about injury news. It's going to help me decide. To give you an idea, I will tell you this now. Son is out of this game. He's still not fit. They're trying to get him fit ahead of the Bodo Glimt game, so you shouldn't even see Son against Liverpool. Obviously, a lot can change between now and the 8 days time when we next play after Forest against Liverpool. Madison is apparently sore, so he's still a doubt for Monday. I wouldn't risk him. If he's a doubt, I wouldn't risk him. Put him on ice and have him brought back on the first leg against Bodo Glimt. I'd play Kulusevski. I'd play Bentancur and I'd play Sarr. So Madison is obviously a force change. I would actually rest Bergvall. I'd bring Sarr in, have that as a midfield three. So you're not changing a massive dynamic in that midfield. One's a force change, one's a rotational switch. That's how I would go. The front three, I'm thinking Tell on the left, keep that momentum going because I've really liked what I've seen from Tell in the last couple of games. And I think he is starting to find his groove and starting to find his form. And it's an opportunity now for him with Son out to really build some form. Just saying. I'd actually go Richie through the centre. I'd give Solanke bench minutes if necessary, but I would go Richie through the centre and I'd go Odebear out on the right. That's kind of my team. So I'll repeat so you have an idea. Vic, Jed, Davies, Romero, Porro, with Romero coming off sort of 60 minutes in. Midfield three of Bentancur, Sarr, Kulu, Tel Odebear, Richie. That's the team that I kind of would go for. And also when you look at like Bentancur, for example, when you look at maybe even look at Kulusevski, I would be looking to kind of say 60, 70 minutes. Let's get them off as well. Let's make sure we don't overdo it with those boys. They're still necessary a week on Thursday. So that's kind of the way I'd go about it. I think Spurs will draw this game. I'm gonna go 1-1. I'm gonna go 1-1. I don't see this being a high scoring game. Forest are a good defensive side. I expect them to sit back, soak up some pressure, hit on the counter. How we deal with said counter will be interesting, but I kind of go with that side of things. I'll probably go 1-0. If I had to go a goal scorer, I'd probably go Richie. Oh, yes, let's see if we can get him a back-to-back game of a goal as well. Obviously, let me know your thoughts and opinions on the game. Goals, obviously your score prediction. I want to see what you guys think. Happy Easter, Wayne, and happy Easter to you all. If I've not said it already. Remember, I don't feel confident about winning against Forest. Nuno's going to do one on us. He's a good manager. Gray at right back. Yeah, Gray at right back is a shout. The only reason why I'm not saying Gray, and there is method to my madness on this, with Liverpool at the following weekend, I expect a lot of changes. I expect Davies. I'd expect a back four of Spence, Davies, Danso, and Gray, if I'm honest. Just because we don't play between Monday and Bodo Glimt for what 10 days, I'd expect some of the first teamers that played Thursday to play again, rotate them out for the following weekend. So they're actually going to get like nearly a week off of rest. Again, we're not having any travel for the first leg. We are at home as well. That's another thing to take into account. So if we can get some of these players, over a week's rest, I don't see any problem with that whatsoever. It wasn't a back three formation, started as a 4-3-3. You, my friend, did not listen, did you? Bissar Kulu. Yeah, I don't know about Biss because I just think Biss played so poorly against Wolves. I just don't see it. You could potentially go with a grey, grey Sarkulu. You could do that. I was just thinking Benton Core. That's the kind of vibe that I would go with. Do you see Kinski starting? I don't personally. I still don't like making predictions. I mean, Steve would normally tell you we're going to win 5-0, but that's kind of Steve for you, We're only fan base that seems to have this prediction obsession, maybe because, go watch some other channels, mate. Like, they all do predictions. If you watch the United stand, there's predictions. You go watch Arsenal channels, there's predictions. It's kind of what we do. Oh, are we going to win this game? Are we going to lose this game? It's kind of what we do. If you don't think that's what we do, you probably haven't had a good conversation in the pub with your mates around football. Because I've been in the pub with Arsenal fans and they'll go, we're going to do you next weekend. We're going to beat you. We're going to do this. And I'm going to go, well, not having that. We'll have you. It's kind of what we do. We predict games. We get things wrong as well, and we get things right. There was a 3-week span where I think I got 3 games in a row predicted spot on with the scoreline. I then stunk up the gaff and got like 8 in a row wrong. It's kind of what we do. It's what makes it fun. It makes us a fan. There's no harm in it. If you don't like it, mate, by the way, you're more than welcome to not enjoy the content. It's not for you. It's not for you. Enjoy your Saturday, enjoy your weekend. That's the key thing. It's Easter weekend. It's a great weekend to spend with family and friends. Watching football. I mean, Bayern Munich at 2:30 is calling my name. Barcelona at 3:15 is calling my name. I will be there. Head in TV, basically. I have a feeling we win the Europa. We go for a left centre back, left back style. Right, Hincapie. Right. Good player. I've been watching a lot of Leverkusen recently, and the more I watch him, the more I can sense he's a good player. But with Jonathan Tart leaving in the summer on a free, that's one of the back three. Obviously, you've got Tapsoba and you've got Hincapie. They're not going to sell another centre back unless they're going to get a stupid offer. We won't be getting a Hincapie. Just with their situation and where it's going to be, we're not going to do it. So there you go. Needs to stop playing Gray in defence and playing midfield so we can get used to it. He was only ever cover at the back in the first place. Gray is also part-time right back. If you watch Leeds last season, this is mental, by the way. There's a certain player that plays currently at Spurs that he kept out of the team. They actually sent him away from his loan deal because Gray was so good at right back. His name's Jed Spence. So I know maybe it's not his number one position, but unfortunately, this club decided not to buy another left back and not get capable defenders to stay fit at centre back. Hence why he's had to play everywhere else. Next season, I would expect to see him play in the midfield more frequently. But we have to play with what you play poker. You can't just go, I don't want these cards. Can I have a new set of cards? You kind of go, I've got to play these cards, see what happens, Unfortunately, that's what we've been served up, and that's what we expect now. Next season, I'd expect them to buy either a left back or a right back, depending on how they view Jed Spence, regardless of manager, and have making sure they've got Vuskovic will come in, so maybe they don't buy a centre back. Maybe Vuskovic is that guy, and obviously Radu will be back around the winter period. But I expect a fullback, then it will allow Gray to move back into where he should be, because I think he should be in the midfield as well. But I'm also realizing the team sheet and where we're at with it. So it's a shame, really. I've watched lots of Arsenal. Okay. If you don't think they'd do it, mate, that's up to you. That's up to you. It's what we do on this channel. It's what I want to do. You don't have to partake it. You can mute me for a few minutes. You could even leave. But I like to do predictions because I like to see how we're all feeling. Mighty Crockle, how are you, mate? It's like I just want to get an idea of how we're all feeling. Shoot me. You still want Van der Venero playing maybe against... No, I would not be playing Mickey or Romero against Liverpool personally. I would keep those two very far away from Liverpool. You might see them on Monday, which I doubt. And if you do see them on Monday, I'd expect them to be brought off. They won't be playing a full 90. I would expect Liverpool to be Davies, Danso. That's what I think. Obviously, we need to come to talk about Davies in just a second. I know we need to keep up match fitness, but I don't want to play. I'm going to be really honest here. I don't want to play those main players only a few days before an international, a semi-final. Look, I don't think even with a full 11, we would go to Liverpool and win with them chasing the title. I don't think we would. It's Anfield. We don't ever do well at Anfield, right? It's not an Ange thing, by the way, before you cry. It's a Conte, it's a Pochettino, it's a Mourinho. We've never been great at Anfield. I wouldn't play those main boys, especially the ones that have injury concerns previous in the season. I'd be keeping them far away from that game. I'd be saying, look, you might play against Forest, but then you're going to have 10 days rest leading into that game, 9 days or whatever it is. I would be doing that personally. So if you're going to play them, they play against Forest. They're not playing against Liverpool for me personally. Want to make sure those key players are made. Like what I said with Maddison. Maddison is doubtful for this game. You might get Maddison play 60 minutes against Liverpool, potentially. But it's like with Son, they're not healthy, they're not fit. Get them fit, get them healthy. That's my big thing. Get them right. Like I said, with this game or Liverpool winning both these games in terms of the league campaign, okay, it'll move us probably around mid-table. It's not really going to do that much in terms of how we all feel towards this league campaign. The Europa League is the be-all, it's the end-all. And having a really big first leg against Bodo Glimt would be huge. If you go in that game and you've won by at least a couple, just saying that's massive, Not sure you mean Excel, to be honest, mate. This Mikey Moore thing, mate. If I'm really honest, Mikey's not better than our wingers. He has the craziest of potential. He's not better than the wingers. Matisse Tell is better than Mikey Moore. Okay. I was fine with the decisions of those wingers on Thursday because they worked extremely hard in defense. Something that, let's be honest, Mikey's not good enough in terms of working back the other way at times. Yeah, I love Mikey, and I think he's going to be an absolute rock star. But he's also 17. We do need to just pump the brakes just a little bit with him. And people go, look at Lamine Yamal. Look at Lamine Yamal. And it's like, yeah, because he's playing at home against Celta today. But like he'd play at home against Legan. And it's like, yeah, 17-year-olds probably could play at home against Legan when you've got Frankie de Jong, Pedri and Gavi, Lewandowski, Rafinha, Balde and Kunde and Araujo and Ter Stegen. You're full of massive international footballers against Legan at home. No offense to Legan, by the way, or Las Palmas, or who else is down there? I think Alaves is as well. There's someone. Who's in bottom three? Legan might be out of it now. Valladolid? I think it's Valladolid. You should be good. But there's also, again, in La Liga, no offense, I think there's probably about a handful of players that are physical players. A handful. It- I think most Premier League teams have a handful alone, let alone across one league, So I love Mikey. He's going to be great. Let's just, what my whole thing was Mikey is just pump the brakes and just let him develop normally. You know, he'll get better. He'll get better. People complain about Spence being dropped as wild. Again, I don't know why people have this obsession with he's dropped Spence. So we complained that we had injuries and we couldn't rotate. And that's the issue that we had. We couldn't rotate properly with fit players, therefore performance levels suffered, results suffered. You'll then get people going, nah, Ange's just crap. It's like, okay, well, if he's working with 50% of his squad, he's not going to be as good. No manager is. Jesus Christ himself, he might rise from the dead tomorrow. He ain't doing anything with a half-fit squad. Which, by the way, I'm Catholic, which is mad for me to say. But in regards to the drop thing, I think it's a lazy take. I think it's an incorrect take as well from people. We have the ability to rotate. We have the ability to use other players. Let's do that. Or do people just want us to run the same 11 into the ground every single time until all 11 are injured and then we have to use a brand new 11? It makes no sense. I want to rotate. I think Jed's been phenomenal this season. He has. But I also want to keep him fresh. It's not just about Destiny or Porro. It's like, let's keep Jed Spence fresh as well. A doggy over those two legs might have been the best player in that tie. If not, he's one of the top three, in my opinion. So he's coming in some good form, but it's the reason why I think his form is so good is that he's not playing every 3 or 4 days. I think Porro's form has taken an upturn because he's not having to play every 3 or 4 days. Same with Jed. I think Jed's performance will continue to grow and get better because he's not having to play 3 or 4 days. That's all my thinking about it. Moore's only 17. I think Mikey's going to be brilliant. But he's also 17. All right. He can't even legally buy a beer yet. All right. That's just time out. I even think Mikey would probably understand. I think Mikey understands, like, I'm 17. I've played a lot of football this year. I've developed for it. I'm going to be better next year for it. How many 17-year-olds are still in under 18 at their clubs? The majority, Son is still one of our best players. Son fit is one of our best players. We just need to get him there. That's the other thing, And also, like I said, if his foot, if he's got one functioning foot and the other one is just damaged beyond belief, I'm not playing him until he's 100% again. Now, look, break emergency glass. If you need him in a game, like if it's a second leg and you need a goal, all right, you have to break the glass and he's going to have to play because he's a phenomenal finisher. But if you didn't need him, like let's say you don't like, he doesn't play. He's not going to play on Monday. We know that he's out, and he doesn't play against Liverpool, but he's back against Bodo Glimt, and he's pretty much 100%. I'd go off the bench, 60 minutes. You're coming on. Give us half an hour of just chaos, Sonny, that we all remember. Duracell Bunny pressures everything, beats his man, and this season, the amount of people that go, Son can't beat his man. I've literally seen it countless times that he's beaten his man. I mean, I think there's a stat where he's like in the Premier League, he's created the second most, or he's in the top 5 for most big chances created. He's also got what? Let me quick look. Heung-Min Son. Where is he? Where is he? There he is. Where is it for this season? Oh, it's just loading. Yeah, he's got. That's not his season. That is not his season. This is his season. He's got 23 goal contributions in 43 games. He's got 17 in the Premier League at the moment in 28 games. So he's not having a bad year, and he's not a bad player. But if he's not 100, if he's not even remotely healthy, then what do you expect? He's not going to be the Son that you remember. So, like I said, if you can rotate with those fullbacks, you rotate with those wingers if you can. And I think you've got Odebear now, you've got Tell, you've got Jono, you've got options. Don't risk it. And for me, Johnson's played a lot of football recently, hence why I'm saying let's get Odebear playing on Monday night, and let's have Tell, let's have Odebear, and he might play Solanke because he thinks, oh, I don't know if Richie can give me the minutes I need. But if Richie can give you 60, I'm going Richie, and then you can bring Solanke on for the last half an hour, and that's absolutely fine. But let's just sort of see on that side of things, I think we found our typical 11. What do you think? Yeah, I think that the team that you saw on Thursday is pretty much it. I mean, you could maybe say, Son. Look, Son healthy is still probably one of our best players. He's in the top 2 or 3 of our best players, right? So you might say, well, Tell probably isn't in your starting 11 if everyone's 100%. But when is Son going to be 100%? If it's not for the first leg, then the team that I saw on Thursday is probably the same team that I'm going to want for Bodo Glimt a week on Thursday. So we'll see. There's plenty of time between now and then, just 12 days to go to that first leg. Let's just wait and see on that. Plenty can change. Like I was saying, there's a lot of Bodo Glimt fans that sort of tuned in to my video that I did yesterday, and they were wicked, by the way. Really great bunch. You can tell they know their club, they know football, they know our club. A lot of them go, oh, you've done really rubbish in the league this year. And you're like, yeah, well, okay, well, there's a few things to that. And then some of them go, of course, Spurs' first 11 when fit is really good. And you go, okay, all right, you know our club a little bit. Okay, interesting. And a lot of them are giving me some updates like, hey, we smashed Roma the other year when they had Mourinho 6-1. It's like, okay, that's something to hold on to. Now, a few of them went, we've played Ange before, we've had success. And it's like, yeah, well, that's Celtic and this is Spurs. This is 2 massive different teams, okay? Celtic are a huge club, but it's Celtic in the SPL. This is Tottenham Hotspur. Bit of a different kettle of fish, but they're a great bunch. Great bunch, So I would go with that 11. They're missing a few big names to the first leg as well. So make the most of that first leg situation. The only issue I feel about Andrew Rotation, I think he's not making changes at the right time. Yeah, but then hindsight's a wonderful thing. None of us are Premier League managers. Even people that go Andrew's out of his depth. We're not even SPL managers. We're not even Australian League football managers. We're not even managers in Japan. We don't have the level of expertise that he does. You and I will sit there, and some of us will be sitting on our sofas going, he needs to make a change there. That player's not playing well. But there'll be data and things that they're working with that maybe the change is coming in 5 minutes time because that's what the data is telling them. So it's hard to really say with that. I do get your point, though. I do get that. If we get to the final and play Bilbao, which of the fullbacks you want on Nico Williams? And tell me why the answer is Jed Spence. Well, I'm not worried about Bilbao, mate, until I get there. Just worry about Let's worry about Bilbao when we get to Bilbao, all right? If we get to Bilbao is the other one. Thanks, Nathan, mate. How are you? Feel like Mikey. We're moving on from Mikey. I'm not really worried about Mikey right now. It's irrelevant for this conversation, unfortunately. So is it Kulu over Madison and Son over Tell when everyone's fit? No. It's Madison and Kulu and Son. That just blew your world, didn't it? No, I don't want Nunes. Okay. Interesting that we've got a person that gives Ange 0 credit. Apparently we won on Thursday in spite of Ange. So the players that were subbed on changed the system and the way we play, and it's nothing to do with Ange. They went completely against all of his comments and sayings and orders on the touchline. Probably also think after the game they're hugging Ange because they're trying to squeeze the life out of him and get rid of him that way. Come on, just be happy. Why can't we just be happy for once? Could see an improvement in Johnson. Yeah, defensively, much better. Much better. Kulu on the right. Yeah, I'd go Kulu on the right. Works with Porro very, very nicely. Now, let's talk Ben Davies. Come on. Let's talk about old Benny boy. So, Jay Harris, who is with The Athletic, has said that Tottenham are to trigger Ben Davies' contract will see him stay at the club for a further year. Davies' contract expires at the end of the season, but Spurs have an option to extend his contract by another year. Now, saw some people getting up in arms about this. I did. Saw some people getting really angry, right? Now, there's a few schools of thought surrounding this. You know, Ben's been a good servant. He's been at the club a long time now, a long, long time. You know, you got to think about Michel Vorm joining Tottenham kind of period in our career, in our Spurs fandom. And he's a dependable set of hands. And just because you're extending him for a year doesn't mean you can't still sell him, by the way. You can still cash in on him. I know we didn't do it with other players, but Spurs might look at it and go, well, Ben Davies is a really solid Premier League player. You could easily get some money out of him. And they might do that. He can play left back, he can play centre back. He's an international footballer. He's had some good successes with Wales, and it's different with Wales. Wales are never expecting to win international trophies, but they've been deep into those competitions. Obviously, Gareth Bale being a huge part in that, but having people like Aaron Ramsey and Ben Davies in those teams was massive for them. Wayne Hennessy in goal, so he's a very solid player. Now, I think the last few seasons for me has been the concern of Mickey has injury issues. This last season, Romero didn't really have as much of an injury issue, right? But he did still miss time with suspension and things like that. Destiny misses time every season through injuries as well. And I think those injuries situations will improve because those players hopefully will have dependable people in their roles that they can rotate with. Davies has also missed a lot of time. And that is something that we need to definitely keep thinking about because as much as he is solid when he plays, and he's never a guy that thinks, I never look at Ben Davies and think he's the world's best player. He never really causes you to lose games. But at some point, you kind of have to look at it and go, we should be looking to upgrade there. And there's nothing wrong in saying that. You can still think Ben Davies is a solid player, but you could also sit there and say, we do need to upgrade there. We could probably do some freshness at the left back role. We're moving on from Reguilon. If we move on from Davies, slide someone else in there. That position can be sorted for years to come. Destiny's very young, very good. Jed, you can then start to say Jed is a right back now. He's going to be a Porro out there. We'll get another left back. Those two will be our left backs. You got those two are the right backs. Centre backs looks like the centre back room is starting to take shape. The goalkeepers look pretty solid with Vic and Kinski, and Austin. The midfield, obviously, I think the midfield requires a little bit of work, if I'm honest. There's going to be some players leaving that midfield, and the attack needs some work. There might be some players leaving the attack. Werner will be gone. What they're going to tell, what's going to happen with Richie. There's a lot of things that can happen, but it's just my thinking about Ben. Is it they're going to look to extend him and then cash in? We'll sort of say. Saka couldn't even tie Gareth Bale's shoelaces, mate. Just ignore them. All right. Found this hilarious. Frankfurt have priced Ekatike. Oh, mate. If I had a player that was having a really solid season, I am going to lump his price through the roof. You're not going to get that price. It's like when we talk about Dibbling and they were like, we want 100 million for Dibbling. Everyone knows, including Southampton, they're not getting 100 million, but you start it up nice and high because if they were to get, let's say, half of that for Dibbling, they're thinking 50 million for Dibbling. Hell yeah. And with Frankfurt, they're going, we want 100 million for Ekatike. And they go, oh, mate, 65, 70. That's not too bad. Although I did see Yorkeres might be on the market for 65, 70. And I actually watched Sporting Lisbon last night. I was really bored. I had the Leeds game on against Oxford and I had Sporting on. Yorkeres is a problem. He is an absolute problem. And the more I watch of him, the more I'm like, oh my God. Whoever gets him, and I think it'll be a Premier League side with either Chelsea, Liverpool, Arsenal, I mean, Villa, there's a situation with Watkins. I don't know what's going on there. Maybe Villa might even, hey, if Newcastle sell Isaac, you know, just saying. I don't think it'll be City, Sonia. I just think with Haaland there, I mean, Liam Delap, what's going to happen with Liam Delap? Would he might move on? I mean, he might. I think there's a release clause if they get relegated of like 30 million. And I think a lot of teams are going to go, your Crez is going to be worth double, or I can get Liam Delap and I'll get someone else for the team as well for the similar sort of price. Maybe, so really interesting things. Philip, how are you, my friend? What's news morning? We're just talking the game for Forest, Sonny and Madison injury issues, and obviously just talked about Ben Davies. I think you've probably been here whilst I was talking about Ben Davies. You can't drink summer fruit squash and it gives you mouth ulcers. Mate, that might be something more on you than it is the drink, because I'd never get mouth ulcers. You might be making the drink a little bit too strong, maybe as well. Maybe it's that. Mine's just right. I never have issues. Also, mouthwash, things like that. There might be some germs in there. Get those germs out. Get them gone. Donna, how are you? I'm not sure on what I yearn for most. PSG beating Woolwich or us getting past Bodo Glimt. It should be us getting past Bodo Glimt. Let's worry about us. I think Ange was right last season. Worry about us. Everything else will take place where it takes place. It's just, I want success. Whatever that comes with as well, comes with it as well. I want success. Ben Davies is a solid player. However, he can't play left back in our system. He's a backup centre back at best. Our results have not been good with Ben at centre back, although it may be that no fit. Well, that's the other thing. He's not playing with the first team frequently. I get that, but yeah, I just think it might be time. I mean, Ben Davies. Let's have a look at how old Benamoy is. It showed me a different Ben Davies. That's interesting. Here we go. So Ben is 32 in 5 days' time. Yeah, I think that's time. That's a great time to shake hands. You thank him for all of his work at Spurs. Get him a move that he wants. Not even a situation where you might go, let's get all the money in the world. Maybe you go to Ben, look, we've got that, go out and see who's interested in you. Who's the club that you want to go to most? Let's see if we can get you a deal with that person, I think, if let's say he gets like 3 clubs interested and it's like, let's say Wolves was the number 1 team. And he's like, I want that Wolves move. You go, all right, let's see if we can get you that move. And even though the Wolves move financially might not be the best, just saying, Listerine. Yeah, Listerine is probably the one I'd go with. Yeah, it is Listerine. Not sure they did cross paths at Spurs. Well, there you go. Ben Davies got rinsed by Session a few weeks ago. Will only get worse next season. Dyer just didn't suit this style of football. That's all. If Ange wins the cup, he deserves a statue. Well, we'll see what happens going forward. But, if he wins the Europa League, it's a hell of a conversation for the higher-ups to have. And Ange might say, look, I came here. I've delivered something that these amazing coaches didn't. I'm going to leave on an absolute all-time high. A higher high that no other manager under the Daniel Levy stewardship would have had. I'm going to leave it there, because do you know what? Do you know what clubs are going to be interested in? They're going to go, he's just won the Europa League. He's a good manager. Let's get him in. He will get a great position at another club if we win the Europa League. 100%. 100%. It's a fickle old world. You're only as good as your last season, or you're only as good as your last trophy. You're only as good as your last match. Well, his last match is winning the Europa League. People are going to remember that. And people are going to go, tell you what, when he had his first 11, he had some successes, didn't he? And he's won the Europa League. So he's a winner. He's won in Scotland. He's won in Japan and Australia. And he's won in England. And he got Spurs to win a trophy, which is impressive enough alone. He'd have a market himself. There you go, Sonia. There you go. I think he probably does leave, but he will have the respect. He should have the respect of the fan base if we win the Europa League. And if anyone doesn't give him respect, it just shows they're out of touch with this club, in my opinion, because they'll go, Look at the league position. It's like, okay, think of your favourite manager under the Daniel Levy stewardship. What have they got to show for it? Well, this guy got second, so he didn't win anything. Well, this guy went to a cup final, so he didn't win anything. He would deserve every bit of credit for winning a European trophy. You know, um, it's by the bite, but Champions League dropouts not being in it this year has been very helpful. Yeah, but then the Champions League situation is what it is. It's the amount of people who complain. Well, if you're in the Europa League, why should you get Champions League football? It's like, dude, it's been like that for a while. Just because Man United and Spurs are struggling in the league right now doesn't mean it's now all of a sudden a problem. No, it's been like that for a while. Spurs suffered, did we not? The Champions League winner took fourth from us and we dropped into the Europa League. We suffered for it. You think about last season, we finished fifth. If that was this season, we'd be in the Champions League going into next season, because fifth this season is going to be given the extra spot. So it's the way the cookie crumbles, it is what it is. The new system for Europa is really good. I actually quite like it. It means no team that flops in the Champions League gets another chance of winning things. Like, you're in the Champions League, that's where you are. You're given all the revenue from the Champions League for being in there, and then you drop down. No. I actually prefer, I'm in the Europa League. I got through the Europa League. I expect to play Europa League teams. I don't want to have Barcelona dropping in because they stunk up the gaff, And absolutely. So there you go. But anyway, let's sort of see. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me this morning. Go and enjoy the rest of your Easter Saturday. Obviously, whatever you're up to today, stay safe, look after yourselves. I'll be back tomorrow, hopefully. I'm watching WrestleMania tonight, so it depends. I've got church tomorrow, so we'll sort of see. But we'll go from there. Thank you all so much for joining me. Go and enjoy the rest of your mornings, your afternoons, your evenings, wherever you are in the world. Go look after yourselves. Go and have an absolute belter weekend. And I'll speak to you all really soon to talk a lot more about Spurs. Take care, everyone. Peace.